at the Modiphius booth with Chris Brich. You're still setting up, so thank you for taking the time.
That's okay. Yeah,
okay.
No problem.
There's so much we could talk about at your booth, but let's focus on Conan and on Fallout, two another great franchises that you have snagged for a game.
Yes, so Conan's actually launching here. It's just gone to stores this week, so it's really fantastic to have a big range of the books here, and dice and GM screens and core book and player's guide and adventure books, so it's really fun to have that out. And Fallout we're demoing, so that's we've got like 3 tables of demos because it's been so insane, so many people wanting to try the game.
Okay, can you walk me a little bit through what does Conan do? What can I play and how do I play?
It's a very authentic treatment of Conan. So we've gone back to all the original texts. We've got a couple of major Conan scholars involved in consulting on the books, making sure that, of course, you know, we've created new material, we've fleshed out material like storylines and places, and so they've really gone through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that we've written it in a way that Howard might have written it, so that it's as true to his writings as it could be. So there's no little pointy-eared creatures and, you know, magic swords everywhere. It's much more. It's a very brutal, dark sword and sorcery game, and you know, you can play a wide range of characters. So the different books that we're releasing, different supplements. So there's Conan the Thief. You're playing thief-type characters. Conan the Barbarian. You know, barbarians are out on the frontiers. Conan the Mercenary, so suddenly now you're sort of armoured, you know, going out on sort of paid jobs. And so we give lots of different themes to the sort of flavours of Conan, all tied into the books, all tied into the areas that Conan adventured in those themes.
Okay, is it kind of set somewhere in the timeline? Is it the age of Conan the King, or is it's earlier?
It's whenever you want. So exactly. So Conan the Thief is in the lands when, you know, when Conan was a sort of ragged wanderer, you know, stealing everything to make men's meat. And so Conan the Mercenary is set around the time of the books, you know, when he was acting as a mercenary. Conan the Pirate is set around the time when he's a pirate. So all the way through the books you're getting lots of different flavours of the Conan stories.
Okay, and I've also seen that you have lots of different, kind of battlegrounds that you offer. So the game is kind of heavy on that. You
don't have to use miniatures at all. Now, we did these as a fun tie-in with our friends at Monolith, who did the big Conan board game. So the cool thing is these are based with the same movement spaces and line of sight markers as the Monolith board game for Conan, so they're compatible, and we've got a crossover book coming which has a whole campaign using 2 of these tile sets, so that you can play through the RPG campaign, and then if you want, break out the board game and play the battle, and it shows you all the tiles to use. And of course you can expand your own Conan board game with these tiles, or just use the miniatures from the board game for your role playing.
Okay, amazing. Another use for all those miniatures.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of miniatures for your other games, so I guess Conan is one of the cases where you're not going to produce any yourself. Yeah,
so we've got plenty to do with the role playing game. We've still got another 13 books to produce, so we've got our work cut out for us. I mean, that's all going very well now. So,
do you have anything here already that was not part of the Kickstarter?
No, this is just the first wave. I mean, this is literally only just the last of the first wave shipments just finished going out kind of a week or 2 ago. So there's a lot more still to come.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Fallout. What is going to be the focus of that game?
So in Fallout, you're playing a game anywhere between 3 and 30 figures. Typically, you might play 10 to 15 as an average game. And you know, we played a game the other day with about 3 figures a side, and it's maybe half an hour.
So it's very skirmishy.
Yes, yeah. But you can play bigger games. So if you're playing the Institute or the Raiders, you're probably going to be pushing 20 to 30 figures versus maybe 5 to 10 Brotherhood of Steel. So it obviously depends on the faction that you're picking. Like Gen 1 synths are pretty cheap, Raider, Scum are pretty cheap. So you know, it's quite easy to, if you want to have a larger force, then you might pick either of those factions. Now of course you can go bigger than that and the game will slow down. Later on in a campaign book we've got some more advanced rules for doing mass battles, because people like me love thinking of the idea of coming up with sort of 50 Deathclaws and 200 Brotherhood of Steel on a table, which I'll do at some point. But I mean, the game's very much designed for the skirmish scale, and it has two modes. So, of course, you can play your normal battle mode, which is, hey, we've got 40 minutes, let's just play to see who kills each other first. But the main mode of Fallout is narrative mode, so you're telling stories with the game. And so there's all sorts of ways we do that through card decks and through the scenarios. The scenarios obviously have a narrative running through them that you can play through a whole storyline.
And it sounds like that is going to be cooperative play, or is there also going to be...
You can play cooperative, so you can play versus, so we could play each other, or you and me could play together against the game. So we could pool all our spare super mutants and have them as an AI faction. We could play a scenario and the AI would run the other faction in the scenario, trying to complete the objectives as well. So I mean, I could play solo if I wanted to. So that's obviously quite an attraction for a lot of people. But the narrative storyline works really well. You've got AI cards, you've got Wasteland encounter cards. You're drawing events every turn that different things can be triggered. You've got you can discover things as you're searching around. As you're searching around the wasteland, you can discover things in Nuka-Cola machines, in Vault-Tec boxes, inside old abandoned atomic cars, and so there's a lot of stuff to discover on cards again. And you can also, in between the game, there's a couple of different things you can do. So you can go exploring the wasteland before a game starts. So you might stumble across a horde of rad roaches. If you don't destroy them, so you do a quick combat scene, if you don't destroy them, then they're going to come back and haunt you during the game. So they become a consequence in the event deck. And if you do, then you usually get some reward, like some extra caps to spend on your force, which is great. And outside of the game, you can build your settlement as well. So characters have, every figure has a you've got your standard figures, and then you've got heroic figures. So that you add a heroic card, gives them access to VAT, the VATS dice, gives them access to extra sort of abilities. And then you can also make them a leader. And then leaders can get perks, just like in the normal Fallout game. And perks give you access to upgrades for your force, upgrades for your settlement, upgrades for equipment. And your settlement is something you spend your caps on in between games. So if you come out of a game with a couple of hundred spare caps, you might go, okay, I'm going to spend them on an armor workbench for my settlement, which maybe now gives you access to, now I can add a second armor suit to my force.
It's a lot of different gameplay elements that all have to tie together. That's got to be a nightmare for game testing and balancing.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, there's lots of the sort of final testing on the settlement and AI is going on at the moment. The main battle game is sorted. It's come out really well with playtesting, and we just started signing up another wave of playtesters who are going to help us playtest the next wave of cards for Wave 2 that's going to be launched in sort of April, May time next year. So we've got plans for releases all the way through next year and then onwards from there.
And onwards and onwards and onwards, probably. It sounds like it's going to be miniature heavy in the future when you say that you're also going to looking forward to bigger battles and things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, it is a game where you literally could play with 3 or 4 heroes versus 10, 15 raiders. You can have, the very average game is 10 to 15 figures, so you don't need a lot of figures to start off. Our starter set comes with 12 figures in hardened PVC plastic, all pre-assembled in 2 different colours of plastic, so literally you can get playing straight away. You can order our resin version of the starter set, so it's very high quality, multi-part resin if you're a gamer that likes to glue your figures together, paint them as you go, paint the parts. So we've given people the variety to choose. And that first starter set actually comes with 20 scenarios and the AI play. So you've actually got more than enough. I mean, I know often people think, I can't afford to buy all the figures, but actually you only need the starter set, and that's £60 or something in euros. 60 depends on the day what Theresa May's done. So it's maybe 65 euros. So it's pretty it's very affordable. It gives you everything, and it's not just the starter rules. It's actually the whole rule book. So it's everything you need to play Fallout. And then as you buy more of your units, you get the cards for those units. Now everything's downloadable, so the rules are going to be downloadable for the battle game. All the unit cards are going to be downloadable for free. It's the narrative game that you expand as you buy all the sets, and of course you get the actual printed cards as well. So we're trying to make it as accessible as possible.
Okay. Thank you so much. And maybe we can snag a game with it, but we'll see. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you very much. Bye.